She buried men alive, set cities ablaze with flaming birds, and after all that, she was canonized as a saint. This is the true story of Olga of Kiev, the woman who lost her husband in brutal fashion and decided to rewrite the fate of an entire people with blood, fire, and faith. But beware, this is no fairy tale. It's a story of vengeance, absolute power, and religious redemption in the heart of the Middle Ages. You're watching Medieval Kings and Queens, where thrones shine, but blood runs beneath them. And today, you'll meet Olga, the avenging saint. In the year 945 AD, a 20-year-old woman received the most terrible news of her life. Her husband, Grand Prince Igor of Kiev, had been captured by the Drevlians and executed in brutal fashion, tied between two trees and literally torn in half. Her name was Olga, descendant of Vikings, mother of a 3-year-old boy, and now a widow. The Drevlians thought they had eliminated a threat. In reality, they had just awakened the most feared woman in Eastern Europe. Born in the village of Vybat, near Pskov, Olga was Varangian, descendant of the first Vikings established in the region. She married Igor at 15 in an alliance that consolidated Varangian power. But here's a fact few know. She would become the first woman to effectively rule one of Europe's largest states, not as a temporary regent, but as a full ruler for more than 15 years. The Drevlians didn't stop at murder. With insane audacity, they sent ambassadors proposing that Olga marry Prince Mal, the same man who had ordered her husband's death. It was, according to them, a way to pacify the region. Imagine a widow receiving a marriage proposal from her husband's assassin. But the Drevlians underestimated Olga. She sent a calculated response. "Your proposal pleases me. My husband cannot resurrect, but I wish to honor you tomorrow in the presence of my people. Return to your boats. Tomorrow you will be carried in great honor." In the night, by Olga's order, her men dug a deep trench in the palace courtyard. The next day, the 20 ambassadors arrived in a luxurious palanquin, feeling honored and important. When they were lowered, Olga appeared personally. With a calm, almost gentle voice, she asked, "Do you find this honor to your liking?" Before they could answer, they were thrown into the trench and buried alive. But this was just the beginning. Olga sent a second message. "If you truly want me as wife, send your most illustrious men." When the veteran commanders arrived, she received them with hospitality, offering the luxury of her bathhouses. When they entered to clean themselves from the journey, the doors were locked and the building set on fire. The symbolism was perfect, purification by fire. The third revenge was even more elaborate. Olga sent a third message. "I will personally come to you. Prepare mead where you killed my husband, so I may weep over his tomb." She actually went to Korostin and genuinely wept at Igor's death site. When the feast began and mead flowed freely, her soldiers, disguised among the guests, initiated the massacre. 5,000 Drevlians died in one night. But Olga wanted to destroy the entire Drevlian civilization. She returned with an army and besieged Korostin. The siege lasted a year without success. Then she had a brilliant idea. She sent a final message. "Why do you resist? Your other cities have surrendered. I don't demand heavy tribute, just 3 pigeons and 3 sparrows from each house." The Drevlians, confused but relieved, delivered the birds. At nightfall, Olga's soldiers tied small pieces of sulfur to each bird and released them. The birds flew to their nests inside the city. Within hours, Korostin was in flames. Olga had invented the first form of incendiary bombing in history, using animal instincts against her enemies. In 4 years, Olga had completely exterminated the Drevlians. But 12 years later, something extraordinary happened. In 957, she traveled to Constantinople, becoming the first barbarian woman officially received by the Byzantine emperor. Her delegation included 200 people, half merchants, revealing her diplomatic sophistication. There, Olga converted to Christianity, but she demonstrated the same political cunning used against the Drevlians. When Emperor Constantine proposed marriage, she insisted he be her godfather at baptism. After the ceremony, when he renewed his proposal, Olga replied, "According to Christian teachings, a godfather cannot marry his goddaughter." The emperor was forced to withdraw his proposal, outmaneuvered in cunning. At baptism, she adopted the name Helena. The woman who had burned cities now built churches. She returned determined to convert her people, starting with her son Sviatoslav. But he refused. "My followers will laugh if I accept this foreign religion." As chroniclers recorded, she prayed as Helena, but ruled as Olga. During her final years, Olga demonstrated exceptional administrative skills. She established a revolutionary tribute system, created commercial outposts, built fortified cities, and preferred diplomacy to war. Her administration created the foundation upon which her successors would build the Russian Empire. Olga died in 969, at 69 years old, exceptional age for the time. Her grandson Vladimir fulfilled her dream, converting all of Russia to Christianity in 988. In 1547, the Orthodox Church canonized Olga as a saint, declaring her equal to the apostles. The justification? Pioneer in converting pagans. The fact that she had exterminated thousands of those same pagans was conveniently ignored. Olga's story confronts profound questions about morality and power. How can a mass murderer be a saint? Perhaps the answer lies in human complexity. Olga lived in a brutal era where revenge was expected and female power had to be conquered through force. Regardless of our contemporary moral judgments, her historical impact is absolutely undeniable. First woman to effectively govern Kievan Rus, she established lasting precedents of female power that echoed for centuries, planted the fundamental seeds of Christianity that would flourish magnificently with Vladimir. She transformed grief into power, revenge into legacy, paganism into faith. Who was Olga of Kiev really? Saint or assassin? Victim of circumstances or calculating perpetrator of atrocities? Brilliant diplomat or ruthless genocidal leader driven by vengeance? Pioneer of Christianity or ruthless genocidal leader who eliminated entire civilizations? Perhaps she was all these things simultaneously, and perhaps it's exactly this fundamental contradiction that makes her one of the most fascinating figures in medieval history, an extraordinary woman who defies our simple moral categories of good and evil, showing us that real history is always infinitely more complex, contradictory, and disturbing than we would like to admit. Olga of Kiev died a Christian, but lived as a warrior. She ruled with an iron fist, killed with creativity, and planted the roots of Christianity in a wild land, even though she couldn't convert her own son. Centuries later, she was canonized. The church called her equal to the apostles. The modern world might call her a genocidal maniac, but perhaps Olga is simply the rawest portrait of what power can do to a person, especially to a woman in a world where weakness was a death sentence. And you, do you think she was a heroine or a villain? Leave your opinion in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next episode of Thrones of the Past. Because behind every crown, there's always a downfall.